Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Pigskin Prognosis. This is 2024 Week 9 podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Sully, as you all should know by now.
and we got a pretty good lineup of stuff for you today. We're gonna start it off with the highest scores this week, this past week, Week 8. Had some pretty good high scoring games, so we have a decent amount of high scoring fantasy players. The top scorer from last week was CeeDee Lamb, who we'll talk about a little bit more. But CeeDee Lamb had 39.6 points with 13 receptions, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was targeted 17 times. It just felt like he could not drop the ball. Like his hands were glue. Watching some of that game against San Francisco, it was incredible to see some of the catches that he would make, and honestly, in some places, sometimes in the games, it looked like he was just wide open. So I don't know. It looked incredible on his part to see Dallas's offense come alive. That he's a big part of, and that I know that he's some of that offense that looking for in the future to keep this rolling on him, to get targets and catches and touchdowns for him. What do you think, Sully?
I mean, yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, it kind of looked like, I don't know what the fuck happened. I mean, we'll kind of touch on this later on our recap stuff, because I think that was a good game to hit on. But yeah, I don't know. Fantasy owners, I think, are rejoicing, having CeeDee Lamb actually come through and actually produce and put up numbers. And, he was the driving force behind that fucking offense yesterday or last night. But I mean, it's good. If you have him, good for you. I got him in, I think, one or two of my leagues, and I usually use them in daily fantasy stuff, but I didn't do any last night. But yeah, no, it's good to see that he's actually starting to get the ball more and producing for that offense, which is good to see.
Yeah, and that offense, I think, is something that we're looking for some kind of spark in between Dak, because Zeke doesn't have it. I think a lot of Cowboys were hoping that Zeke brought that back, the old Dak and Zeke days from 4 or 5 years ago.
Those are long gone.
But yeah, Zeke's not performing as they expected, and so now I think they're kind of turning and relying on CeeDee Lamb, which when he has it, he has it, but when he doesn't have anything. So it was good to see him perform so well yesterday. Another top performer, our second top performer of the week, was Jalen Hurts, which I have him, thankfully, in a lot of my fantasy leagues. He had 35.14 points. Only 20 pass attempts, but he made 16. He got 16 completions for 236 yards. So he carried the ball 10 times for 37 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So when you have a quarterback that can move the ball on the ground as well as he can, yeah, he's going to score touchdowns. But scoring 3 touchdowns in a game is insane.
Yeah, that hurts Saquon Barkley owners for sure.
Yeah, but it definitely makes Philly look good, because that makes it really tough on defenses against Philly, and then who they have to cover for the run. Because if they do a RPO, you can pass it. Either one of them can run it and get some decent damage against that defense, because they're expecting usually the running back to get it. The quarterback can take it and run the other way, which is what happened in a couple of those plays for him last week. So 35.14 points for Jalen Hurts, just a dog, man. 3 touchdowns. I can't get over that. Just a dog. Our next top scorer is Bo Nix, another quarterback. Good to see his offense come alive. Good to see him come alive. He had.
Let's slow your fucking roll here, okay?
Well, I mean, Carolina played good. They played decent, right?
What, a fucking high school team?
Like, trying to give you the benefit of the doubt,
dude. Like, oh my god, dude. I don't know. I mean, at this point, shit. I saw a thing on my Facebook notifications from 12 years ago. I was just like, oh well, way to just something along the lines of like, way to suck Carolina 1-6 or something. And here we are, 12 years fucking later. We're going through the same fucking thing. So
yeah.
Like, oh my fuck. That's not. We're too early into the podcast to get me all fucking riled up
Are you
already.
sure? I think it's perfect time.
Get people to keep in and listen. But no, yeah, Bo Nix had a good game. Went 28, like you said, 28 for 37 for 284 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. Um, yeah, I mean, the kid looked good. I don't know if he just looked good because of the fact that again, Carolina's fucking defense is just fucking god awful, and if you have a pulse, you pretty much can score on him at this point, or he's trending in the right direction, which I would lean more toward. That's the more probable answer, is the fact that he actually is trending in the right direction. You look at just his last few games, which I had, and I'm an idiot and clicked the button too many times. Last week, not terrible going against New Orleans, not great either. Ran for 75 yards last week, passed for 164, no touchdowns at all, with a 14 points. The week before, he had 20. So, I mean, lately it seems to be more often than not, he's getting you points, which is good to see. And it seems like he's actually learning the offense, learning what they need to do, finding their strengths and pushing the team forward, which is good. Again, I just hate the fact that it happened against my team, but I wasn't expecting that game to go our way anyway.
Yeah. And y'all play the Saints next, so y'all are gonna get mollywopped by them again, right?
Okay, no, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I know what you're doing. It's not gonna work, okay, I know what you're doing, and it's not gonna work. I have a bet with
it sounds like it's working. It sounds like it's working.
Nah, I have a bet with my wife because for some reason we bet on the Saints Panthers game. Don't know why. On Sunday, and obviously I'm picking Carolina. She's picking the Saints. Hopefully Derek Carr doesn't play because I think that gives us a better chance. Because I think Spencer Rattler got benched last game on Sunday. So if that happens again, I think we'll have a slight chance. Hopefully Andy Dalton will play for us again. I know he came off that thumb injury this week after that car accident, which is why Bryce Young got the start. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we don't get the shit kicked out of us. I'm hoping we win that game, but I don't know. I don't have much hope. And I know Bryce Young. I mean, shit. I guess we can talk about it now. Get me all fucking fired up, I guess. I mean, you set Bryce Young up to go against one of the top. I think Denver's one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. Might be top 3 in some categories. With no Adam Thielen, granted old receiver, but still one of our number 2 wideout more than likely, and without Deontay Johnson, who's by far our clear number 1 receiver, and to not have either of those 2 guys, and it's like, hey, by the way, you're going to go against the top defense. Have fun. Yeah, I understand that Dalton got hurt. I get it. But not the good time to sit there and, all right, cool, we're going to put him in, and if he does shitty, this might be the end of the road for him in Carolina.
I think he's got more time there.
I don't. I don't know. Part of me, man, is thinking he's going to be gone by the end of the year. Especially now. I think so. Yeah, I think he'll be gone once the end of the season happens, and the new, what that March time frame that you're allowed to actually go through and like start trading people and doing all that kind of stuff, like the new league year. I think he's gone. I think Deontay Johnson. I was actually talking with my buddies that he'll be gone. I at the time, this was like earlier this week, I didn't think that was going to end up happening, but now it's looking more likely, especially now Christian Kirk being injured with a shoulder injury out for the year, and they've already said that the Rams have said Cooper Kupp's not going anywhere. So that with a wide receiver heavy market, we're obviously not going to be going to the fucking playoffs, not going to be in a Super Bowl run anytime soon. So at this point, you might as well just try to get as much draft picks as you can, especially when we still have to give a fucking second round pick to the fucking Bears for the original Bryce Young trade. So
yeah,
I got a feeling Deontay Johnson's going to be gone. I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders is gone, but I'm not super worried about that one. That wasn't why the fuck we signed him to begin with. I don't understand, but no, I think he'll be gone. Bryce Young will be gone. At least try to bench him. Hopefully he didn't get hurt, and then try to get as much as we can, which probably isn't going to be much out of Bryce Young. But yeah,
I mean,
that's my thought process on that.
You never know. You guys aren't eliminated yet, so that you might have a comeback.
It's gonna. I mean, we went over it last week in our fucking gauntlet that's coming up soon after our bye week. So we're all but eliminated already. I think we needed to have at least. I think our record needed to look the other way around than what it does now. Instead of 1-6, it needed to be fucking 6-1. So yeah, no, that's not gonna fucking happen. If
I
it does,
mean,
I don't see it happening. I think we have a better chance of Tom Brady coming back and winning a Super Bowl this season than Carolina going and making it to the playoffs. So
yeah. Hey, I don't mean to like, poke the bear a little bit, but you're 1-7, by the way.
yep. Yep.
That's all right.
Anyway, back to the schedule scores. I can't even dog your team this week because Jameis Winston comes in and kills it. So
Dude,
I'm gonna take
Jameis Winston's a dog.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the game recaps.
Yeah. All right.
He's getting me all fucking fired up and pissed off. Anyway, high scores. Go back to what we were talking about instead of getting me all fucking angry.
Yeah.
Rookie, 29.1 points, 6 receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was targeted 6 times. So the man brought in all his receptions. I know the Chargers are pretty much without any wide receiver help whatsoever. And their running game doesn't really seem to be getting it going, so it's good to see that dude come through. I mean, if you got him in a dynasty league, good for you. It's a dude you can have for quite some time and not have to worry about it. But yeah.
They see, I'm looking at their roster right now for wide receivers, and I'm not seeing anybody good on there that I know of. I mean, DJ Chark, he's on the IR. That's the only notable name. Will Disley, but tight end. Yeah, it's a very young receiving core, very inexperienced young team. Like Taylor Heineke, he's a decent quarterback. He played for the Redskins or the Commanders back when they were the Redskins a few years ago. Do they have I swear they picked up Blake Corum. Is he not on the team? Was he with the other, or is he with the Rams? Yeah, he's with the Rams. He's with the other.
I was he's with the LA team there, bud.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, all right. Next top score on National Tight End Day. We have to mention a tight end, of course. Cade Otton, 29.1. He had 9 receptions out of 10 targets, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think they said on Red Zone that they had 17 touchdowns scored by tight ends on National Tight End Day.
Yeah, the Sunday night game, the Dallas game, when George Kittle was there, the announcers said that the tight end position scored more yesterday than they have at any point in time all season. So,
yeah,
yep, like you mentioned, all the tight ends showing up on National Tight End Day, which is the 4th Sunday of every single October, just so everyone knows. I didn't know it was, specifically had a week, but
yeah, I didn't know that either. It's good to know that it's a floating holiday because I didn't even know it was a thing until I watched the Red Zone yesterday. But
yeah.
So,
there's that. Another quick notable mention for fantasy owners is Kyle Pitts, 25.1, 4 receptions, 41 yards, 2 TDs. That's good to see that he's actually producing for the Atlanta offense. I know a lot of people were kind of writing him off. I know a couple people have benched him in leagues just because he hasn't been reliable. But
yeah, I think that's kind of like Drake London, which is in our next talking point too. But yeah, it's that boomer bust, and for him, it's mostly bust. So if you bench him,
Jameis Winston, it's not even going to be boomer bust anymore. It's just going to be the Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to put it. Yeah, you get somebody who throws a lot of touchdowns. He also throws a lot of interceptions. So
it's gonna be all or nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to our next section is our lowest scorers, surprisingly low scorers. Our first one is Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8.7 points. 2 receptions out of 2 targets for 7 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown really helped.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Yeah, the touchdown definitely saved his scoring. And it's crazy to look, too. You see the Detroit Lions score 52 points against Tennessee, and you see Amon-Ra with 2 receptions. I mean, granted, Jared Goff, this is another talking point we'll have later on, but didn't really have to throw the ball much. I think he threw for like 87, 88 yards. I got the statistic actually later on in the recap, but you were hoping, especially after the dude last year, I had him in a few of my leagues, and the guy went off, and it was fucking great, glorious. Loved seeing it each week because you were expecting no less than like 12 to 15 points minimum each week, and then you come back and you see that, and it's just it's just disappointing, especially against the Titans. I know you're going through and expecting to see just a big scoring game, and or from him at least, not just in the team in general. Obviously had a big game, but and you just absolute a kick in the nuts pretty much. Especially the week before against Minnesota has 25.2 points, and I mean he's had. So this is his second worst week, other than the week one against the Rams. So that's just the expectation of you're going to go out and you're going to have good games and produce, like I was saying, 15, 16, 20, 25, almost 30-point games and not shit the bed. Granted, I get it, though, he didn't need to be the main focus point of last week or yesterday's game, but still, fantasy owner wise, it just sucks.
Yeah, and it went back to, and we talked about Laporta the last couple of weeks. He finally got a touchdown. But yeah, you go back to the Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery show, Sonic and what did they call him? Sonic and Knuckles?
Yes, sir.
They're still powering through, scoring a touchdown each.
I mean, shit, Montgomery's up throwing touchdowns, so.
That's true. That is true.
So
that's right.
When you're up by that much, you can kind of sit there. I mean, it's just like Detroit did last week. They were, trying their damnedest to get offensive linemen to score a touchdown. I mean, they were just doing literally everything. They did not give a shit.
I mean, it makes it worth it because if you're going to have a run into the postseason, you're going to have to pull up some of those trick plays.
Mm-hmm.
So try it now and see what you can do and perfect it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, moving on. Another one of our, we just mentioned him. Another one of our surprisingly low scores is Drake London at 7.4 points. 4 receptions out of 3 targets for 34 yards. Nothing really crazy there. That game,
especially when Atlanta wins that game 31-26, like you'd expect him to have more of a. I mean, granted, I guess it was the Kyle Pitts show as we saw, earlier.
Yeah,
but
yeah. 2 touchdowns for Kyle Pitts, but not really. Like I said, boom or bust with him, or we'll call it the Jameis Winston for him. He definitely Jameised that game. 7.4 points, 4 receptions. It's just and Kirk Cousins was throwing touchdowns. He just wasn't throwing anything to Drake. So
yeah.
Nothing really notable there. So if you have Drake London in your lineup, I wouldn't be worried. I like Drake London. I think he's just having a rough go at it as of late in the last couple of weeks. But he's one of those consistent guys. So is Amon-Ra St. Brown. One of those consistent guys where I would keep at least and bench them to maybe. Go ahead.
No, you say that, but I mean, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown last year, and it was hard to bench, especially because he was. I want to say I picked him up round 2 last year. I think I want to say I got him on that back-to-back last year. And when you get a player like that high up like that, it's so hard to bench him. And like you were saying, as far as London goes, the dude's been consistent. Just like St. Brown, this was his worst week other than week 1 when he played Pittsburgh. Everything else has been 17. He had a 112-point week in week 4. But other than that, it's been 34, 19, 18, and then this week was a 7. So like you said, he's been consistent, has been doing pretty damn well. One week isn't, the end of the world. Don't panic, like you said. But
yeah, right. That's exactly. I don't think now is the time to panic and try to look for a new wide receiver. I think he just had a bad week with a good offense. It's not like his offense, the entire offense is struggling. You can see that the offense is rolling. He's just not involved with that week. And, who knows what the reason is behind it, whether it's, Kyle Pitts is just catching everything, kind of like CeeDee Lamb was. Um, but for fantasy owners of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Drake London, those two, I just don't give up on them yet. It's not time yet.
Do not panic.
Yeah. All right, next low score, DJ Moore, 5.4 points, 2 receptions out of four targets for 27 yards, and he also had 2 carries for 7 yards. I kind of want to say the same thing with him. Don't panic. He's one of those guys that, yeah, he had a low points this week, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. It just seemed like it was more of a. I mean, because a lot of these games had a lot of high scoring games, so don't worry just yet. When your offenses start to falter, that's when I would look at replacing them with someone else on a different team. But yeah, DJ Moore, not one of the guys that I would plan on getting rid of just yet.
It's just concerning to me, especially coming off a bye week. Like the week before against Jacksonville, you had 6 points. Granted, it was a London game. London games are always weird as far as like scoring just in general and shit for the team traveling out there who hasn't been out there. Because I know Jacksonville has a tendency of being out there back-to-back weeks, and that second week they tend to perform a little bit better. But yeah, coming off a bye week, I expected more. And other than the Jacksonville week, he's had no less than 10 points every single week, starting from week 1 to the week he played Carolina in week 5 when he had 27.5 points. So yeah, that's nice to see. And then I'm looking back at this.
Another shit on Carolina week.
Every week's a shit on Carolina week. I'm already shitting on the team already.
Yeah, well, that's the right way to go.
Just shut the fuck up. All right, next low score, our final one that we have on the list is going to be Davante Adams at 9.4 points, 4 receptions, 54 yards. He's targeted 9 times. I mean, maybe I'm expecting too much of just the Jets in general. I feel like everybody was. The team's 2-6 and can't seem to get it going. And it's just another one we kind of hit on the game recap, but I figured he was going to have more fantasy value, especially. I mean, granted, I guess Garrett Wilson would be the guy, but he's not really. I mean, granted, he's only been there 2 weeks, so I guess you can't really like compare. But this week Garrett Wilson did finish with 16.3, which is nice, especially because you expect to see Davante Adams get, double covered and leaving, hopefully, Garrett Wilson if you have him open. But the Jets offensively just don't really seem to be able to get it going. Can't get it, Rodgers can't seem to fucking throw the ball. I don't know what the issue is, except unless it's a fucking Hail Mary, in which case he hits it. But
yeah,
I just don't fucking get that shit. But Davante Adams, owners, I personally would try to see if you could possibly trade him, see what you can get for him, and, improve somewhere else in your team. That's just me.
Yeah, I would think that's one of those situations where it's a great player, but he's got a bad team. And you can't say that he's not performing as well as he would, because it's not necessarily his entire fault. If you look at the team in general, the Jets are just not a good team right now. And that makes it tough when you have someone on offense, because if their defense is struggling to get the ball, then your offense isn't going to score any points because they don't have possession. So that's something where, and Davante Adams, maybe even Aaron Rodgers, look at trading, because that's something where their defense isn't giving them the ball. See if I'm looking here, trying to find the time of possession for both teams. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty even at 29-34 for the Jets and 30-26 for the Patriots, but yeah.
That's, I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm just expecting too much from Davante Adams because of the player that he is. But I mean, even this year as a whole, week 1, just about 11 points. Week 2 against Baltimore was his best week at 26. I mean, the week against Carolina, 8 points. Yeah. Granted, I know he had J.C. Horn covering him, but still, you had 4 receptions for 40 yards. And then, obviously, weeks 4, 5, and 6, he was out with that hamstring injury, I believe is what he had, and then he finally gets traded to the Jets. Pittsburgh comes up with 6 points. Granted, Pittsburgh is good defense, and then New England, you come out with 9.4. If you can sell him and get rid of him and hopefully get somebody to boost your team as far as fantasy wise, I would 1,000% try to make that happen if you can.
Yeah. Get some value out of it before it's too late.
Yeah, because you're gonna get 1 or 2 more bad weeks, and then it's gonna be like, okay, yep, that's the end of this window.
Yeah.
But yep.
All right. Well, that sucks, but I mean the Jets have lost 5 straight, so
Good. Everybody was out. I mean, granted, I was one of those people that had high hopes for the Jets, and
yeah,
here we are.
I did too. It would have been nice to see Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams come together for a nice little homecoming, but it's not working out for them.
Not today, Holmes.
Yeah.
All right, bets. Did you put anything in last week?
I did bet on a couple of games. I put a couple parlays in. I didn't hit anything. Oh, I take that back. I won like $5.
Ooh. He's like, I put 45 in, but
yeah, I'm in the negative, but I only bet like $1 on each thing. So yeah.
I didn't put
this week though. This week looks like a good week for betting. Really good week. I like the look of it. A couple of these games, you have some underdogs or some favorites that you're not really expecting, which we'll talk about, and or the line is really close, and it makes it worthwhile, I think, to maybe throw some money down on some of these underdogs, so to speak. And I don't know, at least on the run line or the spread, because I don't know. I like the way some of this is looking. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but first one up is go ahead, Sally.
I was gonna say, yeah, we'll go ahead and lead off. Yeah, Browns, your boys.
Yeah,
riding high off the fucking Jameis Winston.
Hell
train.
Yeah, hell yeah.
They're at the when did I typed this up earlier today? Them still plus 105. They're 105 dogs against the Chargers. I like that just because of the fact that it's entertaining to see Winston at QB. If he plays like he did to beat the Ravens, I think the Chargers have the opportunity to end up, blowing that game as well, and the Browns can pull it off. Spread's only 1.5. Over/unders set at 42. That would be a game that I pull for in your boys. And I'm not a Browns or Chargers fan. Browns screwed me over 2 or 3 years ago in a Survivor League that I was in, and I swore I'd never ever support them.
I lost because I picked them against the Giants in a Survivor League too.
See, this is it's the Browns. I'm telling you. Like I said, I swore I couldn't fucking do it. Made it pretty far in that league that year too, and I think it screwed me and one of my other buddies over too. So I think that is a good one to hit, just because especially playing the Ravens. Granted, the Ravens might come out and be kind of pissed off that they lost this last week, but still a game that I think the Browns can pull off.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the Browns aren't playing poorly; they just had a bad quarterback. I'll leave it at that.
Man gets hurt, and he's wishing ill in this man's demise over here.
I mean, all right, look, I don't want anyone to get hurt. I see that, especially when it's like an injury like that. But I mean, I've been saying it forever. It's unfortunate that he got hurt for him. It's fortunate for Cleveland fans, because now you get to see your dreams come true and seeing another quarterback step in and take over, and exactly what you expected, which is get a win. And I mean, I said it, last week, 2 weeks ago. You throw Jameis Winston in, you're gonna get some highs. Hopefully, he keeps riding that high for a couple more weeks before we get into the lows, which is where he starts throwing 3 interceptions per game. But who knows? You don't know.
Ride that shit till the wheels fall off.
Absolutely. I'm glad though that we didn't start the backup quarterback that we picked up in Watson's stead, which was Bailey Zapp. I'm
It's
very.
if you're gonna pronounce it
Oh,
correctly.
whatever.
Okay.
Who cares?
Wasn't that dude out in New England for a little bit, and then they thought he was like gonna be the next big thing, and then didn't do shit on Bill Belichick's scheme, and then they released his ass.
Yeah, they cut him. They cut him in December of last year, and then he got picked up by the Chiefs on their practice squad, which is where he was signed to Cleveland. He was signed by Cleveland
Did
from
not
the
fucking
Broncos.
know that.
Yeah. So they signed him as the backup. He's the emergency QB. So he's the third string because you got Jameis Winston as the starter. You have DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, as the backup, and then Bailey Zappi as the emergency QB.
Thank you.
But hey, we're streaking, baby. We're streaking.
You won one fucking game. Calm
That's
down.
a win streak.
Talk to me when you start losing 5 or 6 in a row. Then you can start talking about streaking.
I mean, that's where we were going. We lost 4 in a row coming into this week. I think it was actually 5 in a row. But
Don't worry, y'all's fucking train will come down soon, and then you'll be right back where we are near the bottom with us Carolina Panther fans. So
yeah, I mean, aside from the win at the Jags in week 2, and take out the Ravens win last week, we hadn't won a single game, including the preseason. We had 2 wins over the last.
well, that's how that would work if you
10
take out
games.
your 2 wins.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I mean, well, look at played 3 and 8 games, so 11 games, including postseason. 2
I
wins.
just want to let everybody know that math did take him a while. I just want
It
to let
did.
everybody know that.
It's tough, man. Numbers are hard.
Yeah, and he's sitting on a computer right now. He easily could have just pulled up the calculator app and did it, but instead he wanted to struggle through.
You should see me try to calculating scores when touchdowns hit, man. Oh my god, my brain hurts.
Man, that's why I let the computer do it for me. That's
Especially
why,
if you throw in like kicks and stuff. Like if it's like 3-6, like the Giants game right now, it's 16-9. Like if they score a touchdown, I have to count on my fingers to see how many points it's going to be.
I know this man's
it's
in there.
tough.
It's like the TikTok. He's like, if there's 2 squirrels per tree and there's 50,000 trees, that means there's 100,000 squirrels. And I've peed on 18 trees. So what's that leave me with? That's this man right now.
I try my hardest. Okay, I try my hardest.
Yep,
I don't have enough. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count all the scores and fantasy points.
Yeah, that's why I let it do it for me.
Yeah,
That's what apps are for, my friend.
that's true. That's very true. Oh man, but yeah, Browns over the Chargers. I think that's a good bet. I like that bet.
Of course, says the Browns fan.
Well, I mean, I say that every week, but then how does that work out for us?
For us, not us. I'm
Well-
not betting on the Browns. You.
Well, the Browns have more wins than you guys, so we're not fighting for
Congratulations, you
first
have
pick
2.
anymore.
Congratulations.
Oh, my
Aren't
gosh,
you all
that's
special?
All right. Next betting is the Lions Packers game. 2 pretty good offenses. The over under is at 47.5, which you said it in our script here. You said that the Lions might be able to cover that over just by themselves. The over is 47.5. I guess the spread is 47.5. And the over is negative 108 odds. I put that on my little bet lineup. I always whatever bets that we talk about in the podcast, I always bet live and throw down a couple of dollars to see how it does. So if anyone else follows along with me, at least I get to know if you win or lose.
Yeah, you should follow Zach on DraftKings Sportsbook for the socials. And you can be his friend on there, and you can follow him. All the ones that we give you the wrong information for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You can join my group and we'll see the bets that I place and see how much money I lose every week.
Yep. And remember, you too can lose money with Zach.
Should be our slogan.
But yeah, no, I do like that. Like you mentioned, Lions, the way they've been going, man, they'll cover that just by themselves. And then next one, Ravens and Broncos. I think that's going to be interesting, just because I want to see how the Ravens offense handles the Broncos defense. top 3 defense in the league. The Ravens offense is scoring. The over-under is 44.5. I could see that one realistically. I think could be either a very, very low scoring game just because of the defense side, or a very, very high scoring game. I would lean more toward. I feel like the over is going to hit on that.
I do too.
At minus 112 odds. I know these are all minus odds, so you got to put $112 in to win $100. But hey, I mean, these are allegedly locked guarantees, favorites and shit. But I feel the Ravens can pull that off. So Zach's like, all right, 44.5 on the Ravens. Okay.
I'm over here trying to calculate like how many points does each team need to score? Yeah. Okay. 22.25 point per team. How does a team score a quarter point? I don't know.
Yep. He's like, if the refs help them out, then they get okay. Going back to that whole tree thing again.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Yeah. Yeah, you're right though. I think the over under is going to be worth it. The Ravens coming off of a loss to the Browns. Hey. I think that might spark a little bit to them because they're really trying to fight for a title against Pittsburgh. They're really the only other team in the division with a shot. And the Steelers are looking red hot this year. They're 5-2. They're playing right now against the Giants. I think they're actually winning against the Giants. So yeah,
16-9.
Yeah. Oh man, how do they get to 16-9? That's tough for me to math that out.
3 field goals and a touchdown, my friend.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here for you, dude.
But with the Ravens offense, I mean, you got Lamar, you got Henry, Andrews, Zay Flowers. If he can have a good week, that's a really good offense. And then with the Broncos now, you see that Bo Nix is starting to come alive and really play the game the way he likes to play it. I think that's going to be a high scoring game, no matter what the defenses can do, because in my opinion, I think the Ravens are going to score a lot over the Broncos, and the Broncos are just going to be forced to make some big plays and answer, because the Ravens can pick apart a decent defense, I want to say.
I mean, yeah, but you're okay. All right, so here we go. All right, this is maybe a little wager me and you put down then for this.
All right,
I don't think it's going to be. I mean, granted, I just said, that the over's going to hit. I see somehow the Broncos can pull this off and hopefully go tit for tat with them. So we won't even look at the over under for our little bet though. So who do you think's going to win that game then?
I mean, I have the Ravens winning the game. That's what I think.
From the sounds of it, you made it sound like it was just going to be like a complete fucking blowout.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a close game. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be close. I mean, I'm putting down that the Broncos could at least cover the spread at 9-point spread. I think that's a good bet in my opinion. It's a 9-point. They're 9-point underdogs. I mean, I think it's going to be close. I think that they have two good offenses that are going head to head that are going to be forced to make big plays to score more points. And the Ravens can do it, and the Broncos are starting to do it, and they're starting to get on that roll. And whenever you see a team like that just starts to pick up that momentum, it's tough to take them down until you get like an injury or something. It's really tough.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think?
No, I'd agree. Like I said, I think that over under hits. I think the over does hit. I do think the Broncos do find a way to score on the Ravens defense more than what I think people are giving them credit for, especially, I mean, hell, you put up 28 points against Carolina. Again, not the most fucking impressive thing in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but, and then you're still going for, fucking fake field goals and all this other stuff when you're already up a team at the time, 28-7, which ended up getting a couple of our players kind of pissed off and into a little confrontation with old Sean Payton on the sidelines. But
yeah,
I don't think the Broncos cover that spread.
You don't?
No,
9 point spread, really?
I think the Ravens can pull that game off by more than 9 points. I really do.
I mean, I could see how it would work, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up tie or getting really close to a tie game. I mean, coming down to the leg of God, what's the kicker for the Ravens name?
Justin Tucker, how dare you
Justin
forget him?
Tucker. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Justin Fields, but that's because I'm looking at the Steelers game. Yeah, I think it might come down. I mean, I could very well see it coming down to a kick at the end of the game to win it.
I don't see Denver cover. Yeah, I don't see Denver covering the spread. I think it's going to be. I think the Ravens are going to end up winning by more than 14, or more than 9 or 10 points in this situation. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, if you think the Broncos can cover the spread and you want to put a little wager down on it, you let me know.
I did. I mean, I put it down on my DraftKings. I got my 5-pick parlay right now. It's about to be 6 once we talk about our next bets. But
All right, well you let me know. All right, we'll move on then. All right, Jets favorite on Thursday night over the Texans. This is fucking surprising to me. Texans at plus 110 underdogs. What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
how? That's literally what I wrote in our script too. It literally is, but what the actual shit is what I said. It's like I'll go ahead and read. Usually, I try not to read straight up the script. I kind of just give us a ballpark idea of what to talk about. We kind of just ad-lib it. But this one, I literally sat down earlier today. Maybe Vegas knows more than we do, which obviously they do. We're looking at who's going to win and stuff. But what the actual shit was the sentence that I typed out word for word.
Yeah.
Am I fucking missing something?
2-point favorites over the Texans. I'm not seeing it. I don't see what they see. I already put that down in my bet book. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Like I'm fucking flabbergasted. I can't even fucking talk right now. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck they're basing this off of. It's not like Houston's been ass and the Jets have been amazing or even somewhat decent. Houston beat Indianapolis. Granted, it was 23-20. The Texans have Joe Mixon, who's a good fucking running back.
They had a good game against the Bills a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. CJ Stroud still threw for 285 yards against the Colts and a touchdown.
I'm not seeing it.
Are they just basing it off the fact Stephon Diggs probably went down with an ACL tear? But even then, though, you still have Tank Dell. You have Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, who I think is still out.
Is he? Look it up real quick.
He might still be out. He's the only reason I'm saying that is because he just isn't on the stat line for this last game.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's on the IR. Nico Collins.
Okay, I just didn't know when I knew he was still hurt. I just didn't know when he was going to come back, and I don't think it's going to be next week. But yeah, you still have Dalton Schultz, who was minus Stephon Diggs, was their number one receiver this last game. Then Tank Dell, who had the touchdown. Joe Mixon, John Mechie III. Like, you have weapons. You have a running able quarterback. Granted, CJ Stroud ran in that game for minus 10 yards, which is impressive. And then on the flip side of that, though, you have the fucking Jets, who, I mean, we kind of talked about earlier with Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, that you just lost to the fucking Patriots. I realize I'm swearing a lot on this episode, but like, I'm genuinely confused as to what Vegas is seeing on this one.
I don't know. And I mean, the Houston Texans just played the Pats like 2-3 weeks ago, and I think they had a pretty decent win, if I'm not mistaken.
Hold on, I'm looking right now.
So I think they did pretty good against them not too long ago. So
they lost 41-21.
Yeah. Okay.
So Vegas. What the fuck?
Maybe we should go work in Vegas.
Fuck, dude, I should. I know nothing about fucking football when it comes to fucking over-unders and sports. This is a great time to sit there and tell everybody this while we're putting fucking bets and shit down. That's perfect time to tell everybody. Listening to us being like, oh yeah, go ahead and put this bet in, whatever. But yeah, no, Jets, I would absolutely put the Texans down at plus 110 over dogs and win a little bit of money out of that, because I fucking don't see how that can be the case at all.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean it's only 2 points, and it's likely to change too. They do that a lot throughout the week as the odds move on.
And when I wrote this earlier, it was plus 110 odds, or plus 105 odds for the Texans earlier. Now it changed like literally as I was typing before we actually started talking about the bet line. So
and
that's
Stephon Diggs is still noted as questionable. If he gets downgraded to doubtful or downgraded to out, that could even bump the odds up in the Jets' favor as more of favorites. Which, I mean, granted, I'm thinking about all this as if he's not going to play at all. So if he doesn't play, and they're still, I mean, at that point, probably I would say maybe 5.5 point underdogs. It's still a pretty good bet to take, but
yeah, so Nico Collins won't come back until he isn't even eligible to come back until week 10. So he's out with a hamstring.
Yeah, I just looked up. They put him on the IR on the 9th, so it's only been 3 weeks.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's as far as the bets go. I'm interested. You let me know. You shoot me a text if you want the Broncos Ravens one. And but yeah, score. All right. So I think we hit enough on the betting stuff.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of the other games are pretty close, pretty much pick 'em odds, minus numbers across both teams. But game recap time.
My team, baby.
And the fucking first one on there, because it was one that surprised me the fucking most, was in fact the Browns Ravens game.
Yeah.
Winston went 27 for 41 for 334 yards and 3 TDs. Did lose a fumble, however.
That's all right. Remember what we talked. We were expecting that.
Yep.
I wouldn't be upset if he threw 2 interceptions either, but it's all right. He almost did throw an interception at the end of the game.
He did.
That scared the shit out of me.
But like we had talked about before, it's either all or nothing with him. You never get like a mediocre game. It's either I'm gonna throw 3 touchdowns, 400 yards, or I'm gonna throw for fucking 3 yards and 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
So you have that next week. I'm hoping it's gonna be like that. He throws 4 interceptions, but Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, stepped up and placed Amari Cooper after he got traded with 7 receptions, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think he was like the 6th or 7th highest ranking receiver points wise, or just player in general.
Nobody would have expected that either.
No, I thought it was going to be Jerry Jeudy, especially because he'd been on the team for a little bit. I mean, granted, so's this Tillman guy. I think Tillman's a rookie, but still, I would expect it to be more of the veteran receiver and Jerry Jeudy taking over and leading it. Yeah. But I mean, hey, whatever gets the fucking job done, man comes out 7 receptions, 100 yards and 2 TDs, and helps get the job done. So
yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, Lamar went 23 for 38, 289 yards, 2 TDs, and ran 8 times for 46 yards. That's a pretty solid fucking stat line.
Yeah. And you'd expect anybody to have a stat line like that to have a good, and that's just the quarterback alone. You'd expect someone to walk away with a win, which they almost did, but
yeah. And Derrick Henry, King Henry, as he's going to be referred to on this podcast from here on out, went 11 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Zay Flowers, 7 receptions, 115 yards, and no touchdowns. It was a fun game to watch, in my opinion. It was nice to see Jameis Winston do well. Especially just hearing you, being all happy-go-lucky. I can't wait for next week when he ends up just throwing 8 interceptions and looks like he's never played the game of football again. So I can't wait for that.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
When we record next week, I'll make sure I rub that in.
Well, you never know. He might be riding the high. You never know. We'll see. I expect it at some point. I just don't expect it next week. Jameis Winston's going to carry us to the Super Bowl. He's going to get us a ring this year.
In what, Madden? This man's over here fucking talking about Madden 25 right now on his fucking franchise, and talking realistic fucking games here.
Yeah, okay, that's a valid point.
Yeah, no, I think Myles Garrett had 9 pressures on QB, which is good. He didn't have any sacks, which is disappointing. I did actually have expected a little bit more from him. especially going into the season. I mean, he's no Aiden Hutchinson, but you know,
Well,
it is what it is.
Aiden Hutchinson isn't the Aiden Hutchinson for the rest of the year.
Okay, all right. Well, since we're talking about the Lions, we'll just go ahead and segue right into that with their 52-14 win over the Tennessee Titans. Even without Aiden Hutchinson,
Yeah.
who at the end of the game, who was in the press box up top, watching the game, had the little boot on his leg and stuff. Obviously, he's coming off that tibia and fibia shatter, which is just fucking still devastating to see in highlights and watch even weeks down the road. The Lions are fucking scary. I've swore a lot on this episode. I apologize.
Yeah, you have. Listening. You are on one today, man, but I love it.
Yeah, it's swearing up a fucking storm.
It's probably because I got you all fired up in the first 5 minutes talking about the Panthers.
Fucking 5 minutes into the thing, I'm like, all right, cool. This is how this episode's gonna go. But Jared Goff went 12 for 15 for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns. If I told you a quarterback went 12 for 15 for 85 yards and just left out, granted, I'd leave out the 3 TD part. Hell, even putting it in there, would you realistically think that team won?
No, not at all. Like, that's a stat where I would be like, all right, if you went 12 for 15 and 85 yards, you probably threw 4 picks.
Yeah, right. And yeah, somebody's just leaving out the thing. I mean, still 12 for 15 is pretty impressive. I'll give him that. But
Jared Goff has had a great year, by the way. He is throwing the ball perfectly.
Fantastic of a year, which is great to see because Lions fans have had a lot of disappointments over the years.
Yeah,
so it's nice to see Lions fans, and me being one of them. I've been a Lions fan for a while too.
I like the Lions.
It's hard to hate a team that hasn't really done anything to anybody. You haven't really won a Super Bowl. You haven't really won a playoff game in fucking probably longer than I've been alive. Shit like that. I'm not trying to dog on the Lions at all. Like I said, I do like the Lions, but good times are finally coming through. Especially when you have Sonic and Knuckles rolling through. I mean, how Gibbs ran 11 times for 127 yards in the touchdown. Montgomery, the other side of that, 9 times for 33 yards and 1 TD, and threw a 3-yard touchdown pass to Sam Laporta. At this point, what can't this team do?
True.
Had 2 interceptions and a punt return touchdown on special teams.
Yeah.
Like, if they're firing on all cylinders, that division, I could see all 4 of those teams going into the playoffs to the NFC side of the house. And the way it currently sits right now, the NFC's number 1 seed is currently the Detroit motherfucking Lions. The way it sits. So I'm hoping it stays that way.
I agree. I think it's going to be a solid year. But the Bears, maybe, if they can't pick it up, I mean, they're 4-3. Maybe they can't make the playoffs, or they're just right on the cut. But the Vikings are actually surprising me down in 3rd after starting the year 5-0.
And they're on a 2-game skid, which I don't think anybody was expecting them to lose on Thursday night.
No.
The way that they did. I say the way that they did, like they got just absolutely destroyed. It was a 30-20 game, but I don't know. They just didn't. The Vikings didn't look as good and as I'm not going to say scary of an offense as everybody thought they had, but they didn't. I mean, I think the Rams came out with Cooper Kupp and did what they needed to do, and it looked impressive. And the Vikings on the flip side of that didn't, and the Lions obviously play them twice a year. And I'm not writing Minnesota off by any stretch of the imagination, but
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Their offense isn't something that you chalk up to go 5-0. So 5-2 is more realistic, but with how well of the games that they were playing at the beginning of the year, I think the expectations kind of quickly turned around, and I was looking forward to seeing them really play some good games in the later half of the season. I mean, granted, it's only a 2-game skid, like you said, but in a competitive division that they're in, they can't afford to lose 3 or 4 in a row.
Especially for a team that I didn't mean to cut you off there. That you were supposed to have JJ McCarthy, the rookie QB, who gets hurt, and then you bring in Sam Darnold, who's looked pretty damn good up until this point. Even then, he still didn't look bad this week. But
yeah,
like you said, the expectation was still wasn't very high, and it's, I would say, gotten pretty high now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We'll see.
let's go Lions. Let's go Lions. I'm gonna swap my hat from Carolina to the Lions now until the Lions.
You like the blue teams.
Yep, I do. Favorite color. I don't know what it is. But yeah, hopefully the NFC go ahead and on the NFC side of the house, the NFL will run through Detroit hopefully this year, number 1 seed. I'm gonna go ahead and make that bold prediction now. I'm granted it's not really not much of a bold prediction, but I don't think it's gonna be San Fran. I don't think it's gonna be. There's really no other NFC teams right now that are like, oh my god.
I mean, NFC wise, the Washington Commanders maybe.
Yeah, that would be the other team. Which
Overall,
is a
like
fucking surprise.
actually, yeah, and I kind of expected the Eagles to be in leading that division. Granted, the Commanders have played one more game than the Eagles, but overall, I mean, Detroit Lions aren't even the top team. You still got the Kansas City. I was about to say the Kansas City Royals. Thinking of blue teams, the Kansas City Chiefs are 7-0. But the Lions have the biggest point differential out of any other team at plus 100.
I can see that. I mean, you look at, how the Chiefs just beat the Raiders by 7 points, and then the flip side of that, the Lions just beat the shit out of the Tennessee Titans. Granted, I think the Raiders are a little bit better than the Titans, but very, very marginally.
Yeah, right.
And I mean that absolutely marginally, but still, I mean, Kansas City's going to fall, I think, and it's just going to be a matter of when. I don't see them going undefeated the rest of the season, especially if they locked up number 1 seed on the AFC side of the house. They're going to start benching players going into the playoffs, especially with the bye week, and not risking it. And that'll be the time that they end up losing. So as long as they don't go undefeated, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Can't fucking stand the Chiefs. It might just be the Taylor Swift shit, dude.
But she's going to save, but she saves the revenue for whatever it is. Isn't it like, how many percent did the viewership go up when they started showing her on TV?
Oh, fuck.
It was like 400% or something like that.
Yeah, something just absolutely fucking ridiculous because she has a cult following. Yeah, I would say billions of people follow her. If you get her to switch over to hockey, she'd start watching like everybody start watching hockey. If she got switched over to baseball, everybody would start watching baseball.
Whoa, everybody already watches baseball.
Wrong. The only thing people are watching is right now because the World Series are happening. So,
all right, valid point. Yeah.
But go Lions. We'll move on to the next talking point, I guess. So I can sit there and talk all day about the Lions in a positive way instead of my other team where it's just fucking anger and fucking resentment for our owner and our team and everything else because for some reason our management can't seem to just fucking figure it out. But anyway, I'm digressing here. Everyone's gonna listen to this episode and be like, "God damn, he's so fucking angry."
Yeah, no. Sully is so angry. That should be the title of this episode. Sully angry again? Question mark.
Yeah, that's a fun. I'm all right with that. It just for Carolina, you got owners and management who just shouldn't be making fucking decisions. You trade all this for the number 1 pick. We're not talking about this now. But this is why. That's why I'm angry. People, that's why I'm angry.
All right, so I found the secret. I found the secret to having a good podcast in the future, and that is immediately starting off the podcast with talking about the Carolina Panthers.
Immediately pissing me off. Everyone's gonna listen and be like, "Damn, I really want to stay and listen now just to see what the fuck he's gonna swear about now."
God damn, dude.
And you son of a bitch. Absolutely.
Oh,
but
my God.
The Patriots, we kind of briefly talked on it. The Patriots squeezing out a win against the Jets, 25-22. Drake May did go out with a concussion. He went 3 for 6, 23 yards, ran 3 times for 46 and a touchdown before he got hurt. Concussions.
Yeah, I think he got hurt. He got hit on a scramble right after a scramble.
Yeah,
he got hit from behind.
Concussions of running rampant, especially when you see stuff like Tua Tagovailoa. And him making his comeback this week, and he actually slid when he scrambled, so that was good. And the whole stadium erupted and cheering for him, so that was good to see. But yeah, just concussions are just things you don't want to sit there and screw around with. You don't know how they're going to affect you long term.
Yeah.
So it's always tough to see a head injury. But then Jacoby Brissett came in, went 15 for 24, 132 yards, no touchdowns. Everything was kind of ran through Ramondre Stevenson for 48 yards off 20 carries and 2 touchdowns. The flip side of this would be Aaron Rodgers, 233 yards, 17 for 28, 2 TDs. Which isn't a bad stat line.
It's really not. I was looking at his stats earlier when we were talking about the Jets. It's, I mean, that's a favorable stat line. I mean, granted, 2 touchdowns isn't going to win you a game all the time, but for the Jets, that's kind of like all they've been able to squeak out lately is just 2 or 3 touchdowns, which isn't enough depending on for their team. And that's, like I said too, their defense is just not on point. Their offense is scoring points when they get their possessions, but their defense isn't making the stops or giving them turnovers to lead to more points. Yep. So that that kind of brings me back to my point of maybe getting rid of Aaron Rodgers or
Devontae Adams.
Thank you. I was gonna call him DeAndre, and I was like, that's not right.
Nope. Different guy.
Yeah. So, yeah, good stat line, but not enough to win against the Patriots, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
which is
Jacoby Brissett came in, and I've already called him a franchise quarterback for New England. I'm just kidding.
Like the last little bit of this episode, he's like, all right, we moved on past Carolina. Now I got to find a new way to piss him off.
No, I'm just kidding.
But that was just the sound of disappointment that came, just the exhaust of what the fuck just came out of your mouth.
Yeah, it's funny because I messed with Nick about it probably a couple months ago when they were playing. Oh God, when was it? It was did they play the Jets earlier this year already? I think they did.
I want to say they did, and I do remember because I think that was right around the time we were racing.
Yeah, and I was calling Jacoby Brissett a franchise quarterback to Nick, and he was just getting so frustrated. Oh, so funny.
Actually, that was one of the weeks we ran against the Army guys because it was a Thursday night game. Maybe it wasn't because we didn't start doing that till just recently. But still, either way, they did play week 3 on a Thursday night game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay. Yeah, no, and I do remember him pretty much giving the same sound I made, except I'm not a Patriots fan, so
yeah, he is.
Yeah, just a what? But yeah, no, I think the Jets' season's pretty much over. I mean, granted, they need a hell of a comeback. 3 weeks ago, they were going for the division lead against the Bills, and now they're last in the division. So I'm interested in seeing what excuses Rodgers actually comes up with as far as to why the team's not producing and who he wants to blame. Because the only other real person to blame now is Aaron Rodgers himself, but he's not going to do that.
Yeah, you know that's how it goes. I mean, that's how that mentality's kind of been his primary mentality over the last 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, just blame everybody else.
That's kind of why he got out of Green Bay, because it was everyone else's fault, not his.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, on top of that, you look at he was when he was in Green Bay, my receivers can't catch a ball. They need to learn how to catch a ball. Then he goes to the Jets, and then all those receivers that he was bad mouthing on the Packers are now on the Jets. So seems a little weird to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, next game that took me by surprise though was the end of the Washington Commanders Bears game.
Was crazy.
Hell of a game. I ended up going to the bathroom real quick, and my buddy texted me. He was like, "Did you just see the end of the Washington game?" And I was like, "No." Pull it back up real quick, rewind it. Was able to, and caught literally the dude Jaden Daniels throwing it, and then the guy batting it, and then
it went right to him, dude. It was perfect. Right
there. What was better is the cornerback was sitting there taunting the fans and shit.
Yeah,
and then all the fans are all the Bears fans are pointing "Hey, the play's starting! Hey, the play's starting!" And then he's the one that ends up getting it tipped and basically causing them the game.
That's awesome.
He ends up going through and apologizing to fans and everybody else, knowing that he shouldn't have done that and been a little bit better about it. But it's still funny just to see, especially because Daniels, had that oblique injury and rib injury, which is a pretty big part of you throwing a football, and was able to go through, and he went 21 for 38, 326 yards and a touchdown, and ran 8 times for 52 yards. So didn't seem like the obliques hurting him too much. But it did just make me happy seeing the Bears lose. just that, especially after that dude was taunting. Like, if you're gonna sit there and taunt like that, he would have been better to stay where he was on the far like left or right side of the field in the end zone and taunting for the whole duration of the play. They probably would have won that game.
Probably. That was, but I mean, the one thing I did watch, like who was it? I forget what it was, but I watched a little video after the game was over to kind of dissected how they won the game, and it was the play before where they were able to get 13, 14 yards. They had like 7 seconds or 9 seconds left on the clock, and they threw a little out route where like the secondary gave them kind of like the first 10, 15 yards, and they got an out route, and they stepped out with like 2 seconds left, and they got, like I said, 13, 15 yards, something like that, to where they could have set up that Hail Mary. Because outside that, if they were 13 yards away, 15 yards away, he might not have been able to make that throw, or would have been 5 yards short of the end zone.
Threw that from his own 35-yard line.
Right.
Which is fucking 65 yards in the air, which is fucking impressive.
Yeah.
I'm sure as shit not throwing a football 35 yards, but I'm also not a professional quarterback. So, I mean, granted, I could go play for Carolina with the way it's looking, but...
Yeah. Well, you probably could.
Hell, I might get signed to the Browns next week. We'll never know. Never know. Never know.
Well, we have a new star wide receiver in Tillman, so...
I'm not going to play wide receiver, but I can play quarterback. You got some short... I can play like Bryce Young, man. Just some short... little checkdowns. Don't look at any of my, receivers.
Don't you have a bum shoulder?
I'm a lefty, and it's my right shoulder. But yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I mean, again, they're only going to give me for like 3 weeks until I get surgery, so it's fine. It's fine. At that point, I can take a couple hits, but it'll be all right. Yeah. My ortho would love to hear that. But
yeah, right.
But yeah, no, the Bears game was entertaining to watch, especially at the end. And then the next one, the final one, we actually have to talk about, which is good because I think we're coming up due on hitting about an hour. Like I said, we'll keep these episodes an hour 10 most of the time. But San Francisco, the fucking 49ers beating the Cowboys, made me happy. Not a 49er fan, don't get me wrong. But my dad's a Dallas Cowboys fan, which he was naturally talking shit to me earlier in that game. How about them Cowboys, all that other shit, and then San Fran goes out at halftime and scores a touchdown right on the first play or first possession. So naturally, I texted my dad and was like, "How about them Cowboys? Get a fucking second half touchdown. Next possession, they score again." But yeah, Brock Purdy went 18 for 26, 260 yards, a touchdown, ran 8 times for 56 yards and a TD. That's a good stat, especially Ayuk's out for the season. George Kittle stepped up. Debo was kind of in and out. I think he was still hurt. Was coming off that illness and everything.
Yeah.
And obviously, CMC is still out. Should be coming back week 10 for all you fantasy managers that have him. Me being one of them. I guess Debo still had 12.6 points, 71 yards, which isn't terrible. But yeah, still came through. And week 10, hopefully, CMC obviously isn't going to pick it up to where he was, at least right off the bat. But should at least start giving fantasy managers a little bit better. But Isaac Guarnere, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I'm not going to try. 14 times, 85 yards, a touchdown. He came in place of the injured Jordan Mason. The dude looked good. It'd definitely be a running back by committee when CMC does come back. It'll just be who's going to end up being the split with CMC, whether it's Mason or Isaac. So hopefully he'll come back week 10, CMC. He said he's going to start pushing it in practice and see how it goes. But that'll be some relief for fantasy players and San Fran.
I think so too. I think he's going to be a really big addition to a lot of fantasy teams. So if you drafted him, which I know a lot of people did in the first round, get ready because your wins are coming with him. He's a huge ad. Yeah,
I hope so. I just got that injury risk is pretty high with him, but we'll see how that goes. Hopefully he doesn't. But and then you got Dak on the flip side, 25 for 38, 243. Most of those came in like the second half. 2 touchdowns also came in the second half, and 2 picks. Those came throughout the game. He did get compared to Troy Aikman. I texted my dad this. as well. So he is now the first player since Troy Aikman in 1992 to throw 2 or more picks in 3 straight games.
Yeah. That's normal, in my opinion. That's the Cowboys
So
that I like.
yeah, then you have CeeDee Lamb who went 13 receptions for 146 yards for two TDs. It we kind of talked about it earlier. It looked like San Fran just either wasn't covering him or what the fucking deal was. He was just getting easy catches and yards, especially toward that second half of the game. Dak plays like ass for the first 3 quarters and then looks like prime Tom Brady in the last 7.5 minutes of the game. And then everyone's like, "Oh, Dak's backed away," but ignore the fact that he's just thrown fucking 2 picks before that got you down 14 points to begin with.
Right. That's the part that I think a lot of people forget.
Like you sit there and go through, yeah. He led us on a rally. He led us on a thing. We're only down by 7 now. We have a chance. Okay, but the 2 picks are part of the reasons why, and your defense not doing what it was doing. And Trayvon Diggs, I guess, got into an argument with a reporter at the end of that game, and yeah, they had some words about reporters pretty much calling him out for like his play and like how he didn't do shit and didn't cover CeeDee for shit, and then I believe Diggs' exact words were, "Let's talk about D's nuts" or something along those lines. But still, it was a D's nuts reference at that point. Not a good look for Dallas, especially when Trayvon Diggs is one of your star players on defense, and you have a dude just talking shit to a reporter whose job is to rile you up.
Yeah.
And get a rise out of you so that they can have a reaction, so they can put it on the internet. But yeah, so the defense doesn't help you, and then everything's expecting. The quarterback Dak should be producing a little bit better. And again, everyone sits there and freaks out. Hey, he brought us back to 1 touchdown, but he was the one that put you down 2 to begin with.
Yeah. I think that's been, the last 2 years or so, that's kind of been the mentality with Dak. Like, he plays really shitty in the first couple of minutes of the game, couple of quarters of the game, and then ends up having some crazy comeback, maybe even wins a game, and then all of a sudden he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And like you said, people completely forget the fact that you're the reason that you were in a bad spot to begin with, or he's the reason that you were in a bad spot to begin with.
Yep. Because
he was throwing 2 picks that led to 2 touchdowns or whatever. So.
Yep. And then Dallas does have the Falcons coming up next week, and I do think that's a need to win game for Dallas to kind of right the ship, so to speak, and kind of get the momentum back on their side and get pushing for a division that they had high hopes to sit there and win and be contenders in.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the only other thing that I got is that we'll talk about real quick, and then we'll wrap up this week's episode because I think we're a little bit over that hour mark.
A little bit, yeah.
But I don't know if you saw Anthony Richardson coming out for a play in his game against Tennessee.
I didn't see it.
Or not Tennessee, but the
I looked it up afterwards because I heard something about it. And so I looked it up and I was like trying to read about it, but
so he pulled himself out of the game against the Texans for like a play. Like not a huge ordeal, right? But if you hear a player comes out, like what's the first thing you think of?
He's hurt.
Exactly, right? So they send the sideline reporter down to ask and be like, hey, like, what's going on? Richardson, like, is he hurt? He's coming off that injury a few weeks ago. Like, is it still his hip injury he had? Is it still lingering? Is he still hurt? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, we'll get more info on it. And then they find out. And then he comes out during the press conference and it was like, I came out of the game because I was tired. I'm not going to lie. I was tired. And that just seems weird to me as a quarterback to sit there and be like, hey, I'm not hurt, but I'm going to come out of the game because I'm tired.
Yeah, that is weird. I think I don't know if we talked about it earlier, but usually starting quarterback takes 100% of the team snaps if they're healthy. But it was weird though because I kind of read up on it. It said that he was tired and because they had like 2 or 3 scrambles in a row he had to run. And then they had 2 fouls and backed him up, so they had another big 3rd down play. But he pulled himself out just for Joe Flacco to come in and hand the ball off.
Yeah,
you can't take the snap and right. You can't take the snap and just have a running play. Like what?
Yeah, and take a 40-second break in between.
Yeah.
Wait till the last minute, catch your breath, standing at the line of scrimmage, making audibles and stuff, and then throwing the ball. I don't know. It just seemed odd. Their head coach won't actually commit to whether or not they're actually going to start Richardson or Flacco this upcoming week. So that should be interesting to see how the rest of this week goes with if they're going to start Richardson or if they're going to put Joe Flacco in.
I mean, Joe Flacco is a good quarterback. He led Cleveland on a run last year. I wish they would have signed him and kept him, but no.
I mean, you got Jameis Winston.
Yeah, but
Of course,
regardless, though, like he only played one play. Joe Flacco only had one snap, and it was a handoff. So,
just seems weird to me. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, just seems odd. We were talking about it before we ended up recording and filming this, but yeah, that 100% of the snaps is what the quarterback typically plays unless they're injured. But you kind of mentioned it too. Good on him for being like, okay, I can't perform to 100%. In that moment for the team, sure, I'll give you that. But then to just have the backup quarterback come in and hand the ball off, it's not like he's trying to throw out and throw like the game-winning touchdown at that moment of the game. It was in the third quarter that it happened.
right.
But I don't know. It seems weird. I think people have all kind of been over the internet talking about it. And Daniel Jones just fumbled, shocker, with 2 minutes left in the game and a chance to potentially tie the game if you score a 2-point conversion. But
Yeah, I just saw the Russell Wilson fumble, but
Jesus.
the Steelers come up with it. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And this is after Giants running back just looks like he's being evaluated for a concussion is what it looks like. His head slammed the turf pretty good. But
Nice.
yeah. So that's this week's episode. I don't really have much more to talk about.
I don't have anything else, man.
Me either.
Next week you're not available next week, right?
I am. So I'm leaving the country tomorrow for a wedding, and then I come back the following Tuesday. So we'll be like wrapping up packing and stuff on Monday night. Mm-hmm. So depending what time you want to record, I should be available for like 30-40 minutes to do an episode real quick.
Okay.
It's kind of, I'm going to put on, I'll have my AirPod headphones in, so it might not sound as great as my lovely microphone that I have in front of me right now, but
that's all right.
Yeah, should be able to record an episode for a little bit and talk about some of the games and stuff like that, especially right before. I won't be up too late because I got a flight early, I think that following morning, or it's like noon, but either way. But yeah, I should be available, so.
All right, yeah, we'll talk as the week goes on, we'll see. But yeah, I'm all good. Thanks everybody for hanging out, coming to check out the podcast. We're live every Tuesday, so that way you get some waiver wire pickups for people in your league. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, leave us some criticism or some pointers, ask us some questions in the comments of this. We're going live on YouTube and Spotify, so reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll try to answer those for you in the next recording. Sully, hope you have a great trip next week. Safe travels, and if we don't record with you next week, I'll hold it down, and if we do get a chance to record with you, then we'll see you next week.
Yep, sounds good, man. I'll see you next week as well. Yeah, if not, everybody have a good rest of your week, and hopefully you ended up pulling out the fantasy win in your league.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for checking it out. Catch you all next week. Good luck.
Later.